Hello, guys, and welcome back to the FPL Duo. We are back for another stream. Start of the week. Glad game week 4 is over. Anyway, because it was a very bad game week for both of us. I think for most people it was. I feel like. Let's move on to game week 5 this week, and we're going to discuss the players you should be looking to bring in, and also the fixtures we should be looking to target. But yeah, how you doing, Jordan? How's your week gone so far?
Yeah, week's going so far so good. Hopefully everyone else is having a nice week also, especially after recovering from, obviously, as we mentioned, last game week. But hopefully we move forward, forget that's in the past now. And yeah, here we are.
Yeah, let's bring up game week 5 chat then. So what are the sort of players and teams? Or let's do fixtures first. So fixtures to target for game week 5. So we've picked 3 teams that you could be looking at bringing some of their players in. First team we've gone for is Aston Villa for game week 5. Now, if you've got Aston Villa players in your team, could be potential captaincy worthy, like sort of Ollie Watkins. We know Rodgers as well. Can he finally get an attack and return is a question. And then also we've mentioned Brighton, haven't we? I know they had a disappointing draw on the weekend, but they've had a good start to the season. They've got Forest at home now. Forest have been quite impressive. So I wouldn't know if they're the fixture to target personally in that regard, but we think it's one of the better fixtures that there is this game week. That's why we'll put Brighton there. What's your thoughts on Villa? Let's start off with Villa. What assets? I mean, anyone apart from Watkins? What are your thoughts on the other players?
Well, in terms of the surrounding players around, obviously Aston Villa 11. I mean, the only one that stands out for me, apart from obviously Rodgers and Watkins, is maybe a defensive one like Luca Dino or Konza, if you're looking to target those clean sheets that maybe you might get against Wolves at home. The only thing is Aston Villa, though, they play such a high line, they're very vulnerable on the counter attack, and sometimes when obviously they're against a counter attack, they usually concede. So it's a bit hard and tricky to target a defensive player from Aston Villa. So more likely go with the attacking one like a Rodgers or Watkins. And especially after game week 4, it led to a lot of frustration for Watkins scoring 2 goals early on in that game. Even though he didn't play 90 minutes, he has had a lot of chances. Like his XG in that game, 1.25 against Everton. And that's really high because he scored 2 goals. But in terms of the games where he didn't really score, his XG was so high. And that's from the amount of chances Watkins had. It was only a matter of time before he put one on the back of the net, and obviously put 2. So regardless of his minutes might be limited, I still think and believe if you do have Watkins still, he's definitely worth keeping, but also a player to also consider bringing in for game week 5 against Wolves, because we saw them concede 6 against Chelsea. Defensively, they're a bit vulnerable, and Watkins seems to have found his good form in terms of against Everton scoring 2. So on the other hand, you got his teammate Rodgers, who I feel like his confidence is a bit lacking. Hence why that's why I believe he hasn't really returned yet, but he's almost there at that level where he could potentially get something soon. It's a matter of time, I think, before he gets his first return, whether it's an assist or a goal. But yeah, between the both, I think both of them are, for me, are ones to consider, not just for this Wolves fixture, but the next one after that, which is, I believe, Ipswich, which again is a nice fixture, even though it's away. I still think it's a good fixture for both of those players for Aston Villa.
Okay, let's bring up the players from each team that we are looking at from these fixtures. So some of these are transfer-in suggestions. So obviously we spoke about Watkins and Rodgers. They are probably the 2 standout ones. Aston Villa are actually playing right now in the Champions League. So
yeah,
they are currently winning 2-0, and it's an hour played. Jacob Ramsey has scored, and as well as Yuri Tielemans has got a goal. Morgan Rodgers is playing, as well as Watkins as well. And John McGinn and Watkins have both got assists as well in the game. So we have to keep an eye out. So yeah, they do. Obviously, it's still a while away from the Premier League game, but just observation, they are playing right now and they are winning 2-0. It seems like a comfortable sort of day for them so far.
Just to add on that as well, Watkins did have a goal ruled out because of handball. Very controversial one, in my opinion, when I saw it. But yeah.
Okay. In terms of Brighton assets, again, we've mentioned the likes of Dunk. Welbeck is another one we've mentioned. Obviously, João Pedro is in a lot of our teams at the moment. Now, João Pedro did pick up a knock over the international break, so it's one to watch and see if he is fit, because if he is, then obviously play him and start him in your team. I expect him to be fit for Brighton's fixture against Nottingham Forest. So yeah, but he's one to watch in the presser to see what Hertzler says about him. In terms of Leicester, though, interesting. You've selected obviously Leicester as a fixture to target. Everton. Yeah. Everton have been pretty poor. I think 4 losses in a row. They are rooted at the bottom of the table. Would you take a punt on Leicester like a Jamie Vardy at the moment?
Absolutely. If it's a 1 week punt, it is, I think, worth going for a player like a Jamie Vardy. The basis of this reasoning is because of the last 2 games, Everton have been in front twice, 2 goals ahead, and both times have lost 3-2. So that's 2 matches in a row where they've been leading 2-0 and have lost it near the close end of the game. So yeah, Everton are still on 0 points. They still have yet to get points on the table along with Southampton. So both of these teams are struggling. I believe, even though he is Jamie Vardy, I mean, he's not the youngest, obviously, player in the Premier League, but I still think he has a shooting boot still on him. And at the price at 5.7 million, I think it's a good steal. He did score a goal against Crystal Palace in Gameweek 4-2 while playing 90 minutes. So he has played 90 minutes against Aston Villa and Crystal Palace in the last 2 game weeks. So he's playing decent amount considering. So yeah, I'll be willing to take a punt on that Everton game. It is a good fixture. It's home as well for Leicester. So
yeah,
all the more reason to maybe go a bit different. Nice differential, 8.4% ownership for Jamie Vardy. And obviously,
he's also at a price rise, Jamie Vardy. He's gone up by 0.1. Yeah. So that was today, actually, I believe tonight. So yeah, he's 5.7 now.
So yeah, there you go, guys. Some of you are considering bringing him in just to target Everton, because it seems like obviously they concede a lot of goals and every team is scoring against them. So why not bring in a Leicester player? Even his teammate that we have on the screen as well, Ndidi, again, 3 assists this season, got 2 against Crystal Palace and 1 against Aston Villa. Another great option, 5 million as well, cheap, 0.4% ownership, real differential right there if you're looking to go completely different.
Yeah, if you're going to wildcard in game week 6, which I know a lot of managers are considering, then Jamie Vardy for 1 week against Everton at home could be decent at the differential, because he is low owned in terms of ownership. But yeah, what other fixtures as well? Looking at the run, the next bit.
So yeah, here you go.
Who's got the easiest fixtures from 5 till 7? I know there is a wild card potentially. We know there's a swing in game week 6 as well. I mean, talk us through, Jordan, what you see in the fixtures.
But in terms of the easiest fixtures, obviously Aston Villa is the top in terms of the next 3 from game week 5 to 7, which obviously you can see that is clear. They got Wolves and Ipswich, and then Man United. You can probably, depending on how Man United are in game week 7, that could be a good fixture for Aston Villa. Obviously, next you've got Chelsea again. The likes of Palmer and Nicholas Jackson could be good. Even a defender, if you're looking promising from Chelsea in terms of clean sheets, like Cucurella. Again, good fixtures long term. Obviously, next you've got Brentford, possibly in Burma. Kind of a blow for Wissa because he is injured with an ankle injury. And I believe he's now red flagged, so he won't be back for the current moment. It will be interesting to see how that affects Burma in the team, but I still think he's a good option after Tottenham away from game week 6 onwards. What do you think of the rest of the fixtures in terms of other than the ones I've talked about, considering further down the list in terms of difficulty, especially when people look at wildcard in game week 6?
Yeah, I think a lot of us managers don't have Arsenal players in our team at the moment. A lot of us have got rid of Saka. I'm just going to look at Saka's ownership now because I feel like a lot of us have sold him.
Yeah.
So he could punish us for game week 5 against City. I know it's a tough fixture, but his ownership is down to 29.6%. But after Man City, on the tough fixtures out the way, you probably want to load up on Arsenal again because if you've got back-to-back home games against Leicester and Southampton, so 2 newly promoted teams at home, you'd expect Arsenal to take maximum points in those fixtures. So I'd be looking to bring in the likes of Saka again, bring in Havertz potentially, maybe an Arsenal defender. So yeah, Arsenal stick up to me as the team you want to target their players in game week 6. Everton, we know, are one to avoid at the moment. They are scoring goals, to be fair to them, but they're chucking away leads and losing games every week, it seems. Brighton, we spoke about, obviously, João Pedro is very good value for money. Crystal Palace, I still like Eze. Now, I was a bit annoyed to see Eze not on penalties. It was obviously Palace got a penalty on the weekend and Mateta stepped up and took and scored. So it looks like Eze isn't on penalties, which makes him a slightly worse option. But I still think Eze is a good pick from open play. He is involved in the majority of good things that Palace are doing. So still like Eze. Ipswich, there's not really anyone I'm looking at, but I know there's a couple players there that they do have that could be good value for money, especially at their prices like 4 million as well. West Ham, again, I don't like the fixtures. Chelsea and Brentford next. Not really anyone I would be going for there, if I'm being honest. So I'd probably look to avoid the West Ham assets at the moment. But I'm just looking on the website right now, and I'm on the stats page. I'm going to look at transfers in for this week so far. So it's only Tuesday, so it's still very early on. I'd recommend guys don't make any early transfers this week. There could be injuries due to Champions League, which Liverpool do kick off in 45 minutes as well. So no surprise, really. The most transferred in player so far this game week is actually Ollie Watkins. Now, Ollie Watkins currently is 8.9 million after his price drop. His ownership is 24.4%, and he's been transferred in by 177,000 managers this game week, which is the most of any player this game week so far. And that's not really a surprise after his 2 goals. I did say give him time. I know he blanked in the first 3 in terms of goals. Then he goes and gets 2 against Everton. Now he's got 2 nice fixtures against Wolves and Ipswich. And I think a lot of people will be jumping back onto Watkins now. And I could see his ownership rising a lot more closer to the Saturday's deadline. In terms of Watkins, obviously we spoke about him. Is he the one that, if you had him, would you be potentially captaining him? Dare I say it? Because obviously Salah has a nice standout fixture. When Liverpool have the Bournemouth, I believe.
Yeah.
This game week. Let me just double check. Yeah, Bournemouth at home for Liverpool. Haaland's got the tough game against Arsenal. Is that away as well so home fixture for Man City, but it is Arsenal. Would you be captaining Watkins potentially if you were to transfer in him, as he is popular this week?
Yeah, it could be a potential captaincy option to go for. The only thing that I would put me off of going for Watkins captain is his minutes, because he hasn't played 90 minutes so far this season, and I would be worried if he hasn't scored by pretty much second half, going into the near stages of 60 to 70 minutes, where he normally is being substituted off around that minute mark, and that potentially could lead to a blank captain for me. And obviously you've got the threats of Haaland. Even though he's got Arsenal, he still has yet to obviously have a blank week, so there is that threat also. And Salah as well. Liverpool will be looking to bounce back after their 1-0 defeat against Nottingham Forest at home, so there is that to consider also. But yeah, I mean, Watkins as a captain pick isn't such a bad shout, especially if you're in a good position too, where you can sort of go flexible with the captaincy. I think for teams that had no Haaland prior to his back-to-back hat-trick and whatnot, there might be a little bit more steadiness in changing captains due to the run of form obviously Haaland has been on so far. Yeah,
I'm just going to share my screen quickly, if that's okay, just so I can show you the numbers in terms of the players transfers in this week. So I'm going to zoom in for you guys. Hopefully you can see that a lot clearer. Obviously, we mentioned Watkins as a high transfer in this week. Haaland is second on the list. Not really a surprise after his great start to the season. He's owned by nearly 70% of the game, which is, I don't think I've ever seen an ownership that high unless last season he might have been higher. I'm not sure, but 69.3% ownership already, and that's going to continue to rise. Luis Diaz is third on the list, which I don't know if that comes as a surprise because obviously we know he's started off the season very strongly as well. He did blank against Nottingham Forest. He only played an hour. However, he has been rotated today, so he doesn't actually start in Liverpool's Champions League game. He's been given a rest, which is I think is great news for Luis Diaz owners because he's going to be fresh and fit for that Bournemouth game. So I think he's a great option, and I would have actually went with him if I was wildcarding over someone like a Jota. Yeah, I'm surprised to see him getting rested because I thought he might play this one. But it's good news if you have Luis Diaz. Vardy's up there. You know, he had a price rise. He's now, 5.7 million. Smith Rowe again. He's up there. One's maybe a surprise, maybe not a surprise, is I own Ola Aina, so it's interesting to see him up there. He's one of the most transferred in players this week. He's the 6th highest as of speaking right now. He's come off the back of an 8-pointer after his clean sheet against Liverpool. Also kept a clean sheet against Southampton in Gameweek 2. It's only 4.4 million. He did have a price drop at the start of the season due to that small knock he had. But Forest's fixtures are good. What have you made of Forest, Jordan? I don't know if you caught their game against Liverpool. They defended really well. Could a Forest defender, with these fixtures they have coming up, tempt you into maybe going for some of the players still unbeaten this season?
Yeah, it's quite a surprise. Obviously, not on the Forest unbeaten so far. I think I would be tempted. It is a bit annoying because when I did activate my wildcard, Aina was there, but then I switched him out for someone else. So that's a bit of a kick in the teeth considering you got obviously a clean sheet against Liverpool. But yeah, he is one to consider. I think Nottingham Forest have been underlooked slightly, I think, in terms of their performance. I think they've been really good. I didn't catch the Liverpool performance. I did see the highlights though, and I thought, great game, I think, for them, and a good result. And the next two against Brighton and Fulham might not be such a bad fixtures for Nottingham Forest. I think they can cause trouble like they did against Liverpool at Anfield. And Aina is a brilliant pick at this price at 4.4 million. If he's getting clean sheets against Liverpool, then I don't see why. Obviously, why you shouldn't consider bringing in a player like him. Yeah,
I think I'm going to start him ahead of someone like Rodgers potentially this week. I've got Rodgers on the bench at the moment, and I think I'm going to start Ola Aina because we know Gabriel's got Man City. I'll show you my bus team in a second, but I'm going to start him against Brighton because I still can potentially see a clean sheet. I've been impressed with Forest's defense this season. It's not just a Liverpool game; they've actually defended quite well all season. Looking at the other players, and Mbeumo, again, we have spoke about him. He's one that you want to bring in, I think, potentially. I've liked the look of him for Brentford. I know Wiss is injured. That could be a good thing for Mbeumo because that means they're going to rely on him even more potentially to get to be the main man up front. His ownership's only 8.8%, so he's a differential. And he's got the nice fixtures, and he's someone that I am bringing in on my wildcard, I believe, next week. Calvert-Lewin is an interesting one. We know we said avoid Everton. However, he does have 2 goals and 1 assist already this season. He's got a good run of fixtures when you look at it. I mean, dare I say it, Jordan, would you consider Calvert-Lewin at 5.9 million?
I mean, for a player like Calvert-Lewin, who is very injury prone, it's very hard to consider a player like him, even though he's got 2 goals and 1 assist. I'm very surprised that those fixture difficulties are like that because at the current moment, I wouldn't really rate those as green for Everton. So that is a bit screwed to see those row of green fixtures in between the grey ones.
Yeah. But I think they've done them based on last season's form because when you're going on this season's form, none of these are greens for Everton. But
I said it's mostly red and greys, I think, for Everton. But I mean, as a 1 week punt, maybe you could go for Calvert-Lewin, but it's a player that I wouldn't really consider a long-term pick just because of his injury risks. And it can happen at any time for him.
Going on to Brighton, obviously they've got a tough run of games coming up. You know, in Game Week 6, Chelsea, Spurs, Newcastle, Wolves, Liverpool, Man City. I'm surprised you went with João Pedro over Danny Welbeck because I know you did mention you liked the Danny Welbeck. What made you go for Pedro over Welbeck? Was it the ownership or because his ownership is 18%, Danny Welbeck. So, and he's also a really good option.
I think it's because obviously João Pedro's on penalties that just sort of nudged me over to going for him over Welbeck. I don't really regret it now because Welbeck did blank in the Ipswich game. But again, he is still flagged, João Pedro, and he should be fine.
Yeah.
Hopefully, fingers crossed for the next game week. But yeah, either way, I do prefer João Pedro because he's on the penalties.
Yeah, hopefully João Pedro is fine. But yeah, guys, please do like the stream as well if you are enjoying the content, and make sure you are subscribed to the channel as well. Let's look at some players that people are taking out the team. Isak is top for transfers out. 300,000 managers have already transferred him out, which sort of makes sense with his injury. It says he has an eye injury, 75% chance of playing. Again, I've not seen any news whether he will start against Fulham. João Pedro is another one that we've spoke about. He has a knock. Again, we're not aware of how bad his injury is. We wasn't really told anything before the game. He's got Forest next at home as well. Do you think? I mean, you watched the Newcastle game. What do you make of Isak, and have you heard anything on him?
Well, when I watched it, because I saw the injury happen, literally the ball was blasted at Isak's face, but he was on the floor with holding his nose because obviously he had a nosebleed. I didn't really see anything wrong with his eyes though. It was more impacted his nose. I thought it was a minor thing, just to take him off, just to sort out his nosebleed. But yeah, considering it's his eye injury, that's a bit uncertain on what that means for Isak in terms of next game week or the fixtures after that. That's one to look out for, I think. But yeah, it looked a bit different to what I saw in the game. Just
João Pedro again. We're not sure. Sorry, you were saying?
Yeah, just to touch on João Pedro one, it's a bit shocking that he wasn't even in the team for the Ipswich game. Like normally, if a player has a knock, you might see him appear on the bench. So it is a bit daunting that he wasn't even in the squad. Whether that's obviously a good or bad thing, we'll have to wait and see. But it's never a good sign for a player not to be in the squad.
Yeah, he's definitely carrying a knock. That was confirmed by one of the Brighton journalists. But we don't know how serious he is. So again, one to watch the press conferences on Friday, I think. Vardiol was benched against Brentford, which we came as a shock. We thought he'd start. He's owned by 26% of managers, so he's a very high owned player at the moment. He's got Arsenal next, so you maybe don't anticipate a clean sheet. It is possible. But I wouldn't be transferring Vardiol out if I had him personally. So I'm surprised with 140,000 managers that have transferred him out. I think he's probably a hold. Wissa, again, if his injury is serious, he's been confirmed he's got an ankle injury. So definitely, if you've got Wissa, transfer him out.
Yeah, that's a blow. That's a very big blow.
Saka, I've not seen this one. 75% chance of playing.
I've not seen this one either.
I think this could be just bit of gamesmanship from Arteta. Is he actually injured?
Games. Yeah, we've seen this before last season, where it said Saka was injured, but he was fine. So
yeah, they've got Man City next. I would bet anything that he will be absolutely fine to play against Man City. There's no way he's missing that fixture. So I don't believe that. Eze again transfers out with 95,000 of you. I would keep the faith. I'm an Eze owner myself, and I'm hoping more people actually sell him so his ownership comes down. Because I think he's going to be a good player to own against Man United and Everton and even Liverpool. I do back him in a lot of fixtures. I think he's a great player, and I'm happy to keep him for now. On the wild card, I may get rid of him. We'll have to see for someone like Mbermo because of fixtures. But Eze from against Man United at home, Crystal Palace 5:30 kickoff. I definitely think he could upset the Manchester United defense.
I think that comes as a frustration from Gameweek 4 night where Eze didn't get anything. Mateta got all the glory. He also took the penalty, which adds insult to injury over Eze as well. So yeah, I see the frustration in taking him out, but yeah, I'll still keep the faith in him if I did have him.
Yeah. One player that's maybe surprised me a little bit is Havertz. He's 7th most transferred out as of now on Tuesday, 82,000 managers. Obviously, we know he's got a tough game against Man City, so you don't maybe expect him to get anything. But after that, he's got good fixtures, and he's one of the players that I'd be looking to bring in potentially in game week 6 and 7 onwards. He did blank against Tottenham in the 1-0 win. He's got 2 goals and 1 assist for the season so far. only 2 blanks out of the 4 games. Are you surprised to see him transferred out? I know he's got the tough game, but look, after that, Leicester, Southampton, Bournemouth. If you had Havertz, would you play him and keep him or?
Oh, absolutely. Yes, back-to-back newly promoted teams. You can't back against Kai Havertz not getting something from either one of those 2 fixtures. And Arsenal in the title race for Man City currently, so it's all to play for. Havertz, main man, I think, in terms of goals this season, looking like. I feel like it's less shared between Arsenal assets now. It's more towards Kai Havertz and Saka. But yeah, he's definitely a player that I'd want to have game week 6 onwards for those fixtures.
Yeah, if you guys are transferring Havertz out, let us know in the chat if you have. I mean, I don't know why people are transferring him out personally, because you'd want him straight back from 7 and 6, or sorry, 6 onwards, when he's got the nice fixtures again. So that one is a bit surprised. Odegaard, we know, is injured, so he is out for a while. Jota, again, I think that's more maybe due to frustration of he's actually blanked, or he's got no goals in his last 3, which feels like he has. It doesn't feel like it. It feels like he has scored, but he scored against Ipswich in game week 1, but then he hasn't scored since. He did get an assist against Brentford in game week 2, but 2 blanks, and he was subbed off after 60 minutes as well against Forest, which maybe is the reason why people have sort of had enough. What would you be doing with Jota? I mean, you don't own Jota, do you?
Yeah, I own Jota.
Oh, okay, you do.
Yeah, I'd be keeping the faith in Jota. I won't be getting rid of him yet. I don't think. Not when he has Bournemouth at home next. Potentially, he might play less minutes in that game. Maybe benched because he's playing obviously tonight. But I'll still keep the faith in him. I wouldn't sell him this quickly on yet. I think give it another game. We can see how he does.
He's starting tonight. He's confirmed he's playing up top for Liverpool. There's not been much rotation from Liverpool, as mentioned. Luis Diaz dropped out and Robertson. Apart from that, it's the same 11 against Forest, which does surprise me. That slot's not really rotated at all. Because I think against Bournemouth, Jota will probably start again. And I think he'll only get an hour, because if he's playing another hour plus today, you can expect a bit more rotation from Jota. I think with Jota, give him this game week, Bournemouth, and then maybe game week 6. If you are wildcarding game week 6, then maybe he's someone that you consider not including in your wildcard, because there will be rotation with Liverpool now because there's Champions League games. But it seems like Slot doesn't like to rotate that much from what we've seen from him very early on.
Yeah, it could possibly be the fixture as well. AC Milan. It's going to be a tough game.
Away fixture as well. So
yeah, it's going to be a tough one for Liverpool. Maybe that's why there's not much rotation there for players.
We know Klopp did like to rotate quite a bit. Obviously, Slot's a new manager. We don't really know what his plans are, how he likes to rotate. So we are still learning with Liverpool what they are going to do, because obviously new manager, new plans. But with Klopp, we would have expected rotation in this game today, but a lot less than we expected. But yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of transfers, guys. Let us know what your transfer plans are, what you're eyeing up, what players you're looking to bring in and take out your teams. If you've enjoyed the content, hit that like button. If you are enjoying the content as well, if you want to see more, please subscribe to the channel. All your likes and comments are appreciated as well. Just helps to support the channel. We're back again Thursday for team selection. To do tune in on Thursday, so you can see how what our plans are with our transfers as well. So we're going to wrap it up. Liverpool kick off in a bit of Champions League football tonight. Hopefully you guys do enjoy the football. It kicks off in half an hour, but we're going to go ahead and enjoy the football. And yeah, anything else you have to add, Jordan?
We'll be back obviously Thursday for the team selection for Game Week 5. But yeah, until then, enjoy the football, take care, and we'll see you then, guys.